You're listening to the Create What You Speak podcast, where I invite you to come along with me as we shape our own reality together. My intention is to bring out the magic in you. Now let's get started.
Run away from the humdrum. We'll go to a place that is safe from greed, anger, and boredom. We'll dance and sing till sundown and feast with abandon. We'll sleep when the morning comes and we'll rise by the sound of the bird song.
My name is Sloan Fremont, and today I'm going to talk to you about creating distance from your thoughts.
Take it easy, yeah. Make yourself right at home. And never leave me, yeah. You don't have to view alone.
All right, welcome to another week. Here we are. I hope you're holding up given how things are at this time. I know it's not easy on any of us, and it's wearing on most of us, and it's really easy. I know this from experience. It's really easy when we have a lot of time on our hands to just get lost in our thoughts, and not always in a good way, right? Especially right now, because there's a lot of things out of our control. I mean, there always was before, but now it feels even like heavier right now. And when our mind wanders and when we go down this path that doesn't feel good with our thoughts, and we do this day after day after day, right? Especially like right now, we have a lot of time on our hands. It can be easy to wear a path in our mind to where those not so good thoughts become regular. And then we start to believe them, and we don't want that, right? We don't want that. We don't want to live that life. So this week I wanted to talk to you about creating distance from your thoughts as a way for you to step away from those thoughts that are, not feeling so good, and really start to question them and question what's going on in your head, and calling out those thoughts and those beliefs that just aren't real. Like calling out those thoughts that we keep thinking that just hurt us, and calling out these false truths so that we can replace those with love, right? Like love for each other, but I think most importantly right now, especially love for ourselves. So that's what we're going to get into this week. So because I'm doing nothing, obviously, like the rest of you, I don't have any updates for you. So I'm just going to get right into this week's show. So, all right. So I'm going to start out by talking about what it means to create distance from your thoughts. And so when I think of the meaning of this, of creating distance from our thoughts, the phrase that comes to mind to me is question everything. Like question everything, right? Like question every thought you have in your mind and dissect it and start to look at those thoughts and question them and ask yourself if they're really true. Because here's the thing, you're not your thoughts. I know it might seem like you are because it feels like our thoughts are just so automatic and they're so embedded in us that they're just part of us, but you're not your thoughts. And we touched on this a little bit at the end of last week's show when I was talking about taking a 360-degree view of your thoughts, right? Like taking a full rotational view of your thoughts. And the way I described this last week is like, and this is just the way I imagine it in my mind, but it's like if I put a thought that's making me feel bad, for example, if I put this thought on a plate in the middle of a dark room where all you see is the plate, and then there's a spotlight shining on it, right? And then I picture like myself walking around that plate and looking at that thought, like from all angles, and asking myself, like, is this thought really true? Is this terrible thought that I keep thinking and I keep telling myself, is it really true? Like, do I really believe this? Or are there other possibilities that exist that maybe I just can't see right now because I'm so stuck in this? Like, I'm so stuck in this box and I can't see my way out of it. And what if I talk to somebody else about this thought? Would they see it exactly as I do? Because if they did, that would mean there was only one option. Or would somebody else offer me another option that maybe I can't see? And so I've been doing that lately, and I really like that because it gets the thought outside of me. It gets it out of my head and almost like visually in front of me. And when we start to do this, when we start to distance ourselves from our thoughts, it allows us to look at them as an optional part of our thinking instead of something we just automatically believe and assume to be true. Because that's what happens, right? Don't you agree that happens a lot? Like we just think the thought and we believe it's true. And I remember back years, what's it been, 4 years now probably, when I first started listening to Abraham Hicks and I was, changing my life, as I always talk about. There's something she said that I heard early on that was, a belief is just a thought you keep thinking. And I remember hearing that, and I was like, wow, like, you mean I have an option with my thoughts? Like I don't have to keep thinking them or believing them, right? And I remember that was like so like earth-shattering for me. Like it just never had occurred to me. And so when we distance ourselves from our thoughts and we can look at them as, like I said, as this optional part of our thinking instead of something we just automatically believe, we get to start to step back, see that they're not part of us, and start to get that space that we need to let them dissolve. So if you think about, for example, when you're looking at the clouds in the sky, right? Like we're looking at the clouds from the sky and it's obvious that they're separate from us, right? Because we can see them in the sky. But because they're our thoughts and we're thinking them, we just absorb them and take them on, as true a lot. We don't even question them. But if we think of our thoughts like the clouds out there, right? We can start to see that they're not part of us, that we can step away from those thoughts and take that 360-degree view and examine the thought from all sides. And most importantly, it gives us some breathing room between ourselves and the thought. And not only does this allow us to question the thought, but it gives us that space and helps us not get so caught up in it and just let that momentum automatically take hold, right? And with that, we get to decide what we want to do with it. We get to decide. And if we don't like it, we have the choice to let that thought dissolve and move on to something that feels better. And so why is this creating distance from our thoughts important? Well, you know this by now if you've been listening to the show for a while. But the reason why this is so important is because your thoughts create your reality. Good or bad, your thoughts create your reality. And we on the show, listeners of the show, if you're listening to the show, I know you want this. We want to create realities that we enjoy living in, don't we? Right? Doesn't that feel much better, right? To create a reality that we enjoy living in. I mean, why would we want to perpetuate realities that make us sad and unhappy and, all the things that we don't want by beating ourselves up and thinking these terrible thoughts? Right? I mean, the answer seems so obvious, but yet many of us do it all the time, and myself included, right? Like I'm not immune from this. I do the same thing too. So to help with this topic this week of creating distance from our thoughts, I wanted to give you a couple of exercises that I have also been practicing that I think would be helpful. They're helpful for me, so I hope they are for you to do this, to create distance from your thoughts. So I got these first two ideas from this book I recently started reading. It's called Acceptance and Commitment Therapy in 7 Weeks by an author called Carissa Gustafson. And I'll link to the book in the show notes. But the funny or sort of funny thing is, because, well, nothing is really a coincidence, I don't believe, but I don't really know why I have this book. It's not a book I would typically read. I'm a part of this publishing group where every so often they'll send me books to read. Like I get to pick them. They'll send like 8 or 10 options to choose, and I get to pick 1 or 2 that I want to read and then review. And mostly they're usually newer books that are maybe haven't been released yet or getting ready to release. And so every few months I get this list. And I got this book, I don't even know. It's been months ago probably. And I didn't even remember I had it, but I was looking through my books and I just decided to pick it up last week or so. So anyway, the main focus of this book is this concept of ACT, this acceptance and commitment therapy. And she talks about these 6 steps, and then she takes you through this 7-week process. So I'm not going to get into all that today, but like I said, I'll link to the book in the show notes if you're interested, because it's actually really good. I really actually I'm surprised that I like this, but I do. So the first week of the program, she's talking about these strategies about your thoughts. And I wanted to give you these examples to help you in that distancing from your thoughts, or even as ways to diffuse thoughts that maybe are feel so powerful and so like a part of you in that moment. So the first example she gives is thoughts as media. And so what she says is that if you start to imagine your thoughts as various types of media, so maybe the thoughts are played on the radio, or maybe your thoughts are played on a podcast or a TV screen or a movie. And in the book, she gives this example of, good morning and welcome to Carissa's Daily Updates. Let's review all the ways in which she has fell short today. I mean, think about that, right? Like none of us would do something like that. None of us would say those things ever about ourselves, yet like out loud in a media format like that, right? Like we would never do that. But yet that's what we're doing silently with our energy every day, all day, when we're thinking those terrible thoughts about ourselves and we're broadcasting those thoughts out into the world. And when I first read this one, I laughed. I was like, what? And then I actually got sad and I got like protective of myself. Like, no, I don't want to do that to myself. I don't want to put myself in a position like that. Yet again, that's what we do day after day in our own minds, right? So this example I felt was a great way to create distance from your thoughts. And really looking at it in this way, at least for me, it helped me to want to protect myself from those thoughts because I didn't want those kinds of thoughts broadcasted out into the world. So that was the first one. The second example she gave was visualizing yourself standing on a train platform and thinking about your thoughts as if they were trains coming and going from the station, right? So, and as your thoughts go through your mind and then looking at those thoughts like, do I want to get on board with that thought and have it move forward fast like a train? Or do I want to step off onto the platform and wait for, get a better feeling thought, step on that train and let that momentum carry me forward? I found this one especially helpful because I would actually notice when a thought that didn't feel good was coming up in my mind, and I would actually stop and say to myself, like, whoa, wait a minute, no, I don't want to get on that train, stop, right? And then I would redirect my thoughts. So I found that one very helpful too, to just look at your thoughts as, do I really want to go forward with that one, or do I want to stop that here and choose something different? So these are two examples of how to start to step back from your thoughts and show yourself that you have options with them, right? You don't have to get on board and follow the racing thought down the track, and you wouldn't want to broadcast those terrible thoughts that you think about yourself out into the world through some form of media. Yet that's, again, what we're doing energetically when we think them. So why do we do that, right? Like, we have options, right? And we do. So I want to give you one last example on what might help you with distancing from your thoughts. And this is I've talked about this show on here before. It's called Dispatches from Elsewhere. And this is a show on AMC, and I cannot recommend the show enough. And I don't want to give it away. If you watch it, you're going to be like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is so weird. I don't understand what's going on. But just keep watching it. I promise you, like, you'll start to understand, and it's so good. That's all I can say. It's so good. But I will tell you this small part to help illustrate this example. So there are various scenes in the show where one of the older characters flashes back to a younger version of herself, and she has conversations with that younger version. And the younger version of herself is so cruel to her. Like, she says these terrible things. She just picks her apart. She, every flaw, everything, she just is terrible to her. And every time I see this, it breaks my heart. Like, when I see those things, like, it makes me want to cry because it's portrayed so well. Like, it actually makes me like want to turn my face away because I can't stand to watch the pain on the older woman's face as the younger woman says these things to her. And so another way to distance yourself from your thoughts is to start to look at different versions of yourself talking. Like would you say the things you say to yourself to a younger version of yourself, like the teenage version of you, the toddler version, or the baby version of you, right? Like, no, you wouldn't say those things, right? So you would likely want to protect those versions of yourself, like put your arms around yourself back then and like comfort you, or tell yourself it's going to be okay, or that you're, all the things that you wanted to hear at those phases of your life. But again, we do it to ourselves, and I do it too. And this is for me too. We do it to ourselves, and thinking of your thoughts, like saying those thoughts to another version of yourself, whatever age you pick, is just another way you can create distance from your thoughts and really start to look at if those thoughts fit into the life that you want to create. And so as you move forward this week, start to pay attention to your thoughts. Do you like what you're thinking? Do they feel good? Do you just believe them, like no matter what? Or do you believe they're just you and that you don't have a choice, like you don't have a say in it? Because that's not true, right? That just isn't true. So start to question everything you think that doesn't make you feel good, right? Start to look at those thoughts and see them for the lies that they are, right? And if it helps, use the examples I gave in this episode. So we talked about picturing your offending thought on a plate in a dark room with a spotlight on it, and do a 360 walk around of that thought and ask yourself, is it true? Is it real? Are there other possibilities that I just can't see, or that I'm not letting myself see? And what I do a lot of times with these types of things too is I'll just ask the universe for guidance. Like, help me see this in another way. Like, I know there are other options. Help me see this in another way. We also talked about thoughts as media. So would you broadcast these terrible thoughts that you might be thinking at any time about anything? Would you broadcast that on the radio or TV, right? Of course not. No, we would never do that. So why would we broadcast them energetically, right? Like, why do we do that? Why would we do that? We also talked about getting on board the train with all the momentum of negative thoughts that make us feel bad, right? Like, we don't want to do that, right? We don't want to get on that train and let that momentum carry us. We want to take a minute, stop. Whoa, wait a minute. That's not the train I want to get on. I choose to get on the train with the momentum that makes me feel good, right? It can be a second decision, and it can just be as easy as that. And I know because I've done it, and I didn't, I'm no different than you in this, other than I just keep practicing it. And that's really all it is. And so the last thing we talked about was picking a version of ourselves. So younger, older, in between, and asking, would we say the things that we're thinking to that version of ourselves? Like, if not, then why would we think them and tell them to the version of ourselves that we are now, right? Like, why would we do that? We wouldn't, right? We don't want to. We want to start to create that distance from those thoughts. And so these are some ways that you can do that. All right. So as I wrap up for this week, I'll leave you with the magical intention to take away for the week, and then talk about songs and close us out. As you know, you create your own reality. So you get to choose what that reality is, and you do that by the thoughts that you think. So if you're thinking thoughts that get you terrible results and cause you to feel bad, and you don't even like those thoughts that you're thinking, and you remember you have but they just keep coming up, like, you have a choice in it, right? So why would you continue to think those thoughts if they make you feel bad? And I know it feels like so real when the thoughts come up, but remember, you're the creator of your own reality. You have choices. You can create things differently than you've been seeing them. You didn't come into this life to find the worst thoughts that you could think, and then that just make you feel absolutely terrible, and then just have to suck it up and get used to it because that's just how it is, right? No, you came here to feel good. Like, and the equation is simple. When you focus on thoughts that feel bad, you feel bad. When you focus on thoughts that feel good, you feel good. And you have both options, and both options are your choice. So this week you get to choose. And what do you decide, right? Like, what do you decide this week? So before I close out today, I want to just say a few things about just where we are in these times. I mean, I know this is just weird as hell, and it's just, there's not even really words for it, but I did want to just say a few things, and I know it's not easy, and I know we're all dealing with this in our own way, but I just wanted to leave you with a few things here. So, and hopefully this will make you feel a little better. At least that's my intention. So right now, rather than have everything be perfect or have all the answers or, have to know everything, right here and right now, can we just start to ease up on ourselves and others just a little, and let things just be an ongoing process? Can we acknowledge that we're still working out the bugs in things, whatever things mean to you, and that's okay? We don't have it all figured out, and that's fine. Can we acknowledge that we're evolving and expanding, and with that, we may not get it right 100% of the time, and that's okay. It's perfectly okay. And can we take a break from just demanding at any given time that things be exactly how we want them to be, right? I know that right now is especially trying for a lot of us. But, I think if we can lighten up on ourselves and on others, we leave room for letting things surprise us. And I feel like that's a good way to look at this. And can we just agree to be more present with what's going on inside of us and focus on enjoying things just a little more? Just a little more. So I guess I was feeling like it's just time for us to maybe relax and step away from those thoughts that aren't serving us and focus on what's becoming. Because I know, we have no idea. I mean, if any of us would have known what the last month or so would have been, we would have been like, yeah, right, there's no freaking way that's going to happen. But yet here we are, right? And that to me just shows me that absolutely anything is possible in this world, right? Anything is possible. And I know we have no idea what that might be, and that's just fine. right? Because that leaves room for infinite possibilities that we can't even imagine in this moment. And that also leaves room for things to be even better than we ever could have imagined. So this week, let's just remember that well-being is all around us, right? No matter how it looks in this moment, everything is always working out for you. That's our theme this month. Everything is always working out for you, no matter how it looks right now. And things will change. Nothing ever stays the same, no matter how it looks right now. All right, so that's it for our show this week. Talk about the songs that I picked and close this out. So the intro song is called Take It Easy by Surfaces. And this song kept coming on my Spotify, like my, my daily hits. Spotify does this thing, like 6 daily mixes or something like that. And so what I end up doing is I put all 6 of them in my queue and my Sonos, and I just let them rotate around. This song kept coming up, and I think I favorited it like 5 times on my phone because I just really like it. But it's called Take It Easy by Surfaces, and one of the parts of the song I liked is it says, "Oh, when you need a hand, I'll be your friend. Oh, when you need a hand, I'll be your friend. Take it easy, make yourself feel right at home. Never leave me. You don't have to feel alone." And I like the chorus of the song. It's very upbeat. It's fun. It's take it easy, make yourself right at home, and it feels good to me. The song. So intro song, Take It Easy by Surfaces. Outro song is called Off She Goes by Bad Sons. And so there's a part of, I think it's the chorus. He says, "You can't believe in yourself. All you hear is anyone else. And if you just believe in yourself, we can tune out everyone else. That's all right. Off she goes, off she goes." And I like that he's talking about you can't believe in yourself because all you hear is anyone else. But if you just believe in yourself, we can tune everyone else out. And I think that's a great message, right? It's especially, we're talking about this creating distance from our thoughts. So if we can tune everyone out, right? Tune into our own thoughts, the thoughts that feel good to us, the thoughts that we want to think, the thoughts that create the life that we want, that line up with that life, that make us feel good. That's really, really, really the message this week. So that's it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. And I would love to know what you think of this episode. If you have questions, you can email me, sloanfremont@gmail.com. My website is sloanfremont.com. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest at Sloan Fremont. If you like the podcast, please remember, subscribe, rate, review, share it with all your friends so more people can find me. And thank you so much for listening this week. And remember, everything is always working out for you.
Where do you go when the light leaves your eyes? When you're just out of reach like a tree-bound kite? What's on your mind as you're staring behind? And I'm on my own in your arms tonight.